console generations have changed. I feel it in the games. I feel it in the players. I smell it from the developers. Much that once was is now lost, for few now remain who remember it.
What are you talking about?
I got no fucking idea.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Another week, another video, and this one has come, into being mostly because I already see many people eager to move on to the next console generation, and based off everything we have right now, I'm scratching my head, as to why. I've been playing my N64 and GameCube recently, mostly to record footage for future videos, but also just because those consoles are awesome. Some of my favorite consoles. As to their their best games being awesome. Games I can easily go back to any time and not think twice about performance issues, controls, whatever. Even more so with the consoles before the GameCube era. For me, it's really not an issue. But as we know, the GameCube era, later on, became pretty comfortable with running games at the best resolution possible back then, as well as many games running very comfortably between 30 to 60 frames per second, while producing some stunning looking titles that still look great today. And of course, with every console generation, there were games that struggled for various reasons, whether it's developer or whatever. But if you've known me for long enough, you know that I always bring up the older console generations, for what they achieved, as well as feel that developers could have perhaps done even more with those consoles, before their time was up in the marketplace. This for me, I feel applies to a select few generations where I do feel that given more time, we would have seen a wealth of additional games that continue to show what was capable at that time, as well as give developers more time to improve their skills in whatever genres they were trying to tackle. So, I was recently playing Star Wars Rogue Leader on the GameCube, along with F-Zero GX, and as well as a sprinkle of Luigi's Mansion, just to see how good that game still looks, and it didn't let me down. I also played a sprinkle of Resident Evil 4 and Metroid Prime 2. Sorry. Recently, thanks to the Mizza T-show, where T mentioned the term retro gamer, now, for many seems to place a certain age of gamers or gamers who like older titles into a certain bracket that makes them sound almost archaic, maybe even redundant, at times. And the term retro gaming has now been, in many ways, applied to the GameCube, PS2, and original Xbox era, which just blows my mind personally, because I was playing these games. Some of the best games from the GameCube. I looked at them, felt the GameCube controller in my hand, got to grips with controlling the characters or the cars, in terms of F-Zero. In the games I was playing, took in the sound, the music, the gameplay, the near silent hum of the GameCube console itself. Thought of some games I'd also then played recently on like the PlayStation 4 and PC, modern games I'm talking about here. And I said to myself, what exactly is retro about these GameCube games? Because they play either just as good or better than many games out today, and that's not even nostalgia. But I don't want to get sidetracked by retro, slash classic rants, because as I played these games, I thought about the titles on the GameCube that looked and played as good as these. And, do you know what? For the most part, they stood alone by themselves. I thought, what other racing games run, look, and play as good as F-Zero GX on this system? Or just any games in general? And the answer, was with few. And in terms of racing, you could argue none. Not from Nintendo, not from Sega, not from any other developer. In my opinion, F-Zero GX is, it's incredible. Sure, the GameCube had a lot of races, and I got a lot of those races. The burnouts, whatever. But man, F-Zero GX, technically is just sublime in virtually every department for that console, and it came out in what 2002, 2003, and the GameCube died in 2006, probably 7, once the Wii came out in 2006. And yeah, the GameCube launched in 2002, which I remember well because I was working during then. Actually, and if that's the case, F-Zero GX might have released in 2003 because it didn't come out at the same year as the GameCube launched. I'm sure of it. Which means the GameCube had let's say 4 to 5 years on the market before everyone moved on. Everyone meaning Nintendo developers and consumers. 4 to 5 years to show what that system could do. And 4 to 5 years for other developers to show what that system could do, what they could do. I mean, even back then, games could take 2 to 3 years to make. So unless you were some crazy efficient developer who was able to pump out new game after new game, as well as work on multiple games at the same time, what were the chances of you maybe getting 2 to 3 games out in that console generation? I actually find that absolutely madness personally. Now don't get me wrong. Many developers were capable of that, but also many of their games might have started off as new IPs. But we then got a ton of sequels, mostly using the same assets in order to develop them quicker. Nothing wrong with this, of course. But in many games, we felt that repetition, that lack of originality and evolution, because there just simply isn't enough time, for a single developer to create brand new experiences all the time, based off the console generations, in terms of time, the whole point of this discussion, and also technology, moving so fast, but also at the same time, using those same engines, you can still create great sequels or newer adventures, something we've seen many times, with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, being a perfect example on the Nintendo 64. But man, when I was playing Luigi's Mansion, I started wondering, what if Nintendo or another developer had time to create another similar game, or perhaps games, just games. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there on how they might have looked, once they mastered the GameCube's lighting and shadow quality. What would another Luigi's Mansion had looked like on the GameCube, or another new futuristic racer from Sega once they'd come off F-Zero GX, learning everything that they had learned from that game. How about a different type of space shooter from Factor 5, after mastering the technology of Rogue Leader? What if another developer created a game inspired by Metroid Prime, where they were able, perhaps able to get close to how Prime looked, but they had their own brand new game. I mean, this is just me rambling about what simply could have been. We know what's happened, but I have to wonder: do developers feel like they have enough time with console generations to not only develop new IPs for themselves, for their portfolios, and also for their consumers, but also build up their own skills and knowledge about, about this stuff, and also, what about us consumers? Sometimes I hate calling myself a consumer, but that's, it's what we are, I always ask myself this, but I always, wonder how others feel. Are we really ready to move on to the next generation of consoles? Why do we seemingly get bored, so easily with our gaming machines, or I mean, people, saying that they can't go back to the 3DS already, and once again mentioned in Mr. T's video, I do recommend going to watch that video. Perhaps it's the games that we get bored with, the same old, is that the developers' fault, or our faults, because the industry and consumers seemingly like to sit within certain popular genres, within console generations, until we get bored, because the developers themselves, either get bored or are content with creating small evolutions, because consumers, suck them up, regardless. What made us want to move on so quickly from the GameCube, the Xbox and PS2 era, when some of their best games were just starting to come out. Games we didn't even think were possible on the systems, like Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube, or one of the last great games on the PS2 was Okami. I can somewhat understand it, from the SNES generation, because I do believe the SNES and Mega Drive were pushed to their max, and we got a wealth of great games from them, same as the NES and the Master System, those early games. And I also do feel, for the most part, that the N64, Sega Saturn, and PS1, ended at about the right time for those systems, as they were mostly pushed to creaking point. Although perhaps there was still a little room for more, but I feel from the Dreamcast to the PS2, and then on, we have moved far too fast through generations, where I've been left wishing that more time was given with some systems that I knew could deliver a ton more, but for some reason we were too eager to move on to the next thing. Because of what? Better graphics? Because developers? I don't know. Because they felt like they really needed to move on. At least looking at it from a consumer point of view, or from a gamer's point of view. Why were we so eager to move on? Maybe it's just because we saw what the future could bring and just wanted it then and then. When games like Journey, The Last of Us, say like Grand Theft Auto 5, as examples, released on a PlayStation 3. What makes us, later on, a few years later on, just after those games releases, go, bored of the PS3 now, and how these games look, time to move on. In regards to The Last of Us as an example, that came out right at the end of the PlayStation 4's life, and graphically on consoles, it blew most things out of the water. Something that the PS3 had a lot more. I say something. Sorry. Showing that the PS3 had a lot more up its sleeves, when developers had the time to master their own skills and the system. Perhaps I'm just an old romantic, who likes to see a console pushed for everything that it's got, even if the seams start breaking and the frame rate start to take a hit, but the games, of course, are still great. That's what we want, just great games. Hell, one of the last levels in Perfect Dark on the N64, notoriously ran anywhere between 60 to 1 frames, per second. I'll never forget that moment on a Skidar spaceship, where it was on the bridge of the spaceship, where the frame rate was so bad, I honestly couldn't see or control what was going on for the most part, but man, Perfect Dark is still off the chain. Then you have consoles that have what we call as gimmicks, ideas designed to intrigue or get your interest in some way. Nintendo have lots of these. I have another video brewing at the moment, but I always wondered, if given more time and success, what would a Super Mario 64 2 had looked like and played like from Nintendo or the N64, when the analog stick and the rumble pack was so fresh and new, and that console and everything was just so fresh and new, and you saw how beautiful platform games could look and play and run on the system with the likes of other games like Banjo-Kazooie and Rayman 2. Personally, I do feel console generations move too fast, especially in later years. I do honestly feel that we should still be playing our PlayStation 4s for many years, to come, with no new consoles on the horizon, because the possibilities in terms of graphics and gameplay are still incredibly large, with this generation, and consoles, if anything, the longer we're in the Generation 4, the cheaper it becomes to not only make games, but to also to sell them for, which is a win-win for everyone in my mind. Do you believe games like Spider-Man and God of War can be improved in any way or offer fantastic new adventures on the current PlayStation 4? I don't know, man. I feel that the system still has a lot to give, and that applies to the Xbox One and the Nintendo Switch. But as we know, consumers also dictate also dictate the market, as was shown with the Xbox One, and it's a lesser success, when it compared to the Xbox 360. But then, again, that was also, bad marketing on Microsoft's front, which has now in the end perhaps forced them into a new console generation, because their console's not selling and they're losing money, perhaps, or perhaps they could have just, knuckled down fix their image and knuckle down on just creating great original games for their platform. And in some respects, they have achieved parts of that knuckling down. We all know, some developers reach technical barriers where they have no choice than to either demand new tools, create new tools, or get creative with the technology they have at hand, which we've seen many times. But how many developers today truly have massive technical barriers where their ideas can't be created at all? Not many, I say. As those types of games are truly the very rare, big budget titles like the Star Citizens of the world. But anyway, I think I'm done here. Are you ready to move on to the next console generation? And if so, let me know why. Or perhaps you're more like me, utterly content with how games look at the moment, and are more than happy to sit in these current generations, for years to come. Just as long as we continue to get great games, which we are getting. Anyway, it should happen. Anyway, that's what we should get. Great games, right? But yes, sorry, bit of a long one here. As always, thanks for listening. Like I said, a bit of a long one, but but please, leave a comment below, and I will reply to everyone as I always do. Thanks for listening. Take care, all, and peace.